Hi, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Productivity Mastery, where I'm bringing you exceptional people, loving, caring, but also peak performers from different industries and areas of life. And we talk about productivity, we talk about performance, we talk about well being, and we just have a nice chat. And I have a privilege and honor to be here today with a very inspiring personality, Daria Vodopianova. Do I pronounce it correctly?
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Instead of me introducing her, I would actually give you, Daria, the word to introduce yourself, share with the audience a little bit about your background, where do you come from, and what is your focus today?
Absolutely. So, my background is I'm Russian Ukrainian. I grew up in Sweden, and at a very young age, I became entrepreneur. So, I opened my first company when I was 21, and I always had this drive of wanting to, to share and create. And my co-founder, my partner, is Sebastian, and he speaks 12 languages. So when I met him, I said, well, I speak 5 and you speak 12. Why don't we open a language school? So my first business was actually a language school for 5 years in the south of France. And as he grew, our company grew organically. We were not really trying, having strategy behind it. Just we spoke a lot of languages. We could help with like 12, 15 languages. So, lots of opportunities came our way. But he was invited to TEDx, and his TEDx had this massive, massive impact because we spoke about, how to break, for the French people, how to help them to actually learn a language. There was a lot of things about tests and how that was not working. We were like the rebels in language learning, let's say. And the thing is that we had so much success with that. His TEDx just went on the TED website and has more than 300,000 views now. But already at that moment, we didn't know what to do with it, to be honest. When it came to, we had a method, we had a business that's kind of worked, but we had this one-on-one going on, but we did not know how do we bring this to the market? How do we actually, with this knowledge, with this very innovative way of working with languages, how do we bring this to the market? And people were coming our way, and we just kind of felt kind of stuck, to be honest. So for 2 years, we were trying to find mentors, coaches, someone could understand that we have a knowledge, we have a recipe, secret recipe, if you want, something that is different from the market. And we have to kind of find a way to package that and leverage that. And most of the things that we met were very traditional. And that was this was 2016. We met people who said, you should have a big office, you should train, language teachers, and you should, take a big loan. And now for me, who's craving freedom, craving variety, craving, listening to my intuition, I could just not see myself going there. It felt counterproductive somehow. And therefore, for 2 years, trying to find a way and not finding it, I said, okay, if I don't find it, then maybe I have to create it. So we stopped the school. We left our home in France. We left everything. We left basically our school, our friends, our home, and then just say, let's make a white page and let's just find the answers to how do you create a business when you have this unique knowledge, unique way of seeing something in the market, a solution. And we went to Australia. And from that moment, when we just stepped out of an environment of how do we find that became my core mission. And this is the beginning of my big why I started this, because I needed it myself and I could not find it. But then when I started to find the answers, I realized, wow, the coaching consulting expert industry is one of the biggest, fastest growing industry in the world. We don't have the knowledge how to stand out in the industry. A lot of experts, coaches are undercharging. A lot of coaches and experts are, the life coach, the business coach, the photographer. There's so many. So if you Google, there's so many people who are kind of doing the same thing on the outside, but I know deep inside that they are not. But they just don't know how to put out their secret recipe to the world so people understand how unique they are. So they don't attract their soul clients, they don't attract the right clients because on the outside, they don't manage to communicate that. So my core mission for the last 4 or 5 years has been to really develop a framework that helps expert coaches, consultants with Sebastian to, one, get a chance to create a business that really fuels them as a visionary. Two, to create a way to communicate with the world with the speaking and TEDx and stuff like that. And also the third one is how to become a visionary, because a lot of people know how to, like, I have this thing, but how do I take my framework further? How do I develop that? How do I empower my team to also embody this? How do I make this alive and not just like I have this framework, we're going to teach the same thing for 20 years. You evolve, so your framework evolves with you. So that has been my passion, my purpose, my why for the last 5 years, and we are just keep growing organically with that. Yeah.
So if I understand correctly, you are helping these thought leaders, coaches, consultants, experts to structure their business side more or less, right? Because you're not helping it so much on the coaching and so on methodologies, but it's more about.
So I'd say, okay, so to make it very specific, there are 3 sections when it comes to how we work with them. The first part, they come into us when they are already established experts. They know they have a knowledge, they know what they're teaching, they kind of know what they want to do. So they are not beginner level coaches or consultants or leaders. They come in and we restructure their business to multiple 6 figures by, working with more premium clients, working with more high ticket, more working with more. The program that is their sole program, not that the one that they're offering, but this is you. This is like, when I see this is so you. There is no one else in the world that could create this type of offer, because this is your genius. This is your playfulness. This is your creativity. This is all that you offer. So that's your business side. So usually we talk about stripping down their delivery to 2-3 days per week, so they can focus on also doing other things on the outside. So that's the business side. We really restructure their offers, we restructure their pricing, we restructure their sales model, the marketing, the whole business side. The second thing we do is to work with them on developing their authority. That means that we are working on the messaging. What do you speak on stage? How do you work with media and PR? How do you actually deliver this in your coaching, consulting, training? So we do that facilitation part as well. So that's more about, okay, you have this messaging. Now, what about taking that to 2.0? How about, making it even more unique, even more clear? So when you speak with someone, they completely understand and they say, yes, I get it. They come on an emotional level, on a logical level, they get what you mean. And the third part is more about the visionary state, which has to do with most people are still living in a very linear thinking in their business when it comes to expert businesses. So meaning that they go through the day with a to-do list. They go through the day thinking, if I work enough hours, then I will have results. And in entrepreneurship, it's not about the hours. It's about how you're thinking, what visions you have, what you're actually taking as an action. So we also train them to rethink work, rethink their role in the business as the thought leader, as a visionary. And that means that they restructure their weeks, basically. They restructure how they work with their teams. They restructure their organizations to further fuel the mission. Yeah.
Amazing. And listening to you and actually having watched some of the materials that you're posting on LinkedIn, I know you talk a lot about this sort of like more abundant mindset in this perspective. And maybe if you can share a little bit about it, because there's many coaches, consultants, freelancers who are listening to this podcast. And I think you'll be relevant if you share, what is the challenge? Why do people undercharge? Why do people not get all these opportunities and abundance that they deserve?
Yeah, great question. So maybe we'll just start with, why do I care about abundance? Because the reason why I care about it is because when you don't have in your mind and in your bank account the feeling that there is not enough, the type of action you will take in your business will not be the same. So if you are feeling and being financially abundant, financially free, the type of creativity that comes out with that is so impressive. The type of collaborations you will do, the type of clients you will take on, the type of project you will risk more. And this is why I care about it so much, because I want to release the genius in you. And if your genius is taking action based on fear and based on scarcity and based on, will this client stay with me if I really say what I feel and what I think and what I see for them? If you live in that space, you're not in your genius. So my first mission when people come to us is to release that genius into an abundant mindset. And that doesn't only mean their account, because you can be, I've met coaches, consultants, experts who are making, 200,000 per year to 500,000 per year, even million, and they're still feeling they're afraid. They still feel like if I stop working, then I'm going to lose it all. So it's about a mindset shift. And we talk about an identity upgrade. So the easiest way to think about it is that you can imagine, we talk about the struggling entrepreneur, and then we have the creator. And you don't always have to step into the creator, but understanding that which space do you live in. The struggling entrepreneur is basing their actions and decisions based on fear. They have a tunnel vision. They are afraid. They're afraid to ask for help. They're afraid to, to take risks. They're afraid to create space in their schedule to actually listen and think and feel. How does it feel? Is this right? Should I take another decision? Actually, tune in with their own voice. It's more about going fast and doing a lot. And it's also a bit the pushy, like I have to close, I have to do this. And, there's this have to energy about the struggling entrepreneur. And then you have the creator. The creator is safe. They create from a space of courage. They create from a space of confidence and trust and say, I'm enough. And the key word here is I'm enough, because it has to do with the struggling entrepreneur, the creator. It's about self-worth. Do I feel that I'm enough? So to answer your question, most of the time when it comes to the abundant mindset is to actually understand that I am enough as I am. And you will see at premium level, when it comes to high level, we work with people who are very, very good at what they do. But when they come in with lots of information. And that's not what your clients want. They want your vitality. If you think when you're choosing your coach, your mentor, your speaker, why do you choose them? It's not because they have more information than someone else. I can read the book for that. They come to you because you have this charisma, dynamic presence, and you're listening, you're abundant. You're not trying to get something from them, you're trying to give. And that is so attractive. So abundant mindset comes from inside, feeling that I'm enough, and my enoughness doesn't have to be covered in overload of information to my clients. It's enough if I have a framework. Of course, we need the strategy, but the actual vitality, the actual how I'm showing up as a leader, as a founder, as a visionary, as a coach, consultant, trainer has a lot to do with my state. So that is very important. Now, what happens when you are stressing? Well, you get into this loop, and I know if your listeners and the ones who are watching are familiar with Tony Robbins, there's this loop of, starting to have this belief system, this is not going to work out, it doesn't work out, and you get into a loop where you have less money, you're more stressed, and every time you're getting on a sales call, you feel, well, this is not going to work for me, and it's not going to work out, and you get into that state, which is the struggling entrepreneur. That's where you might live, or the creators say, I trust, I'm confident, I just going to show up, I'm going to deliver, I'm going to give value. And because of that, people feel good. They feel good enough. They're like, wow, this person took the time to listen to me and care about me, and I feel good around them. And actually, I want to work with them because they make me feel good. And that's the most important. They help me to have confidence. They help me to have courage. So the question is, when it comes to financial, abundance or scarcity mindset, is basically understanding from what state do I take action? And you can see yourself as having two identities. You have the scarcity and identity, which is the struggling entrepreneur, we call it that, and the creator. And when you do something, any action in the day, ask yourself, is this the creator speaking or is this struggling entrepreneur speaking? And just having that awareness will already help you step away from the fear into the courage.
I love this, and I can confirm so many stories and examples on how it really is about tweaking this, switching the mindset, and it usually can happen in a moment, and you need to be very quick to catch this struggling entrepreneur. Hey,
Yeah.
This is just a voice. This is not me.
Yes.
This is just a voice. And I want you to elaborate a little further on, what if your bank account is at zero or a minus, right? Like what about these guys that are listening right now? maybe they started their coaching or consulting business 3 months ago. They're not having enough traction. How do they make this leap towards abundance? Is it first the inner game, first the belief, or is it first I need to get some results so I can get some belief? What would you recommend these guys?
I'd say I'm reflecting on myself. I had, I've been in business for 11 years, and 1 year I kind of went into an environment where it was a new country, new business environment, and it wasn't really working. Honestly, it wasn't working. And I was trying everything, and I was going for it and trying and going on 100 calls and coffee. This was a couple of years ago. And I was like, why is it not working? You're sitting there, you're trying to understand, why is it not working? I'm doing all the right things. And what I realized was that, one, that I had to have the trust in myself. I remember just a moment sitting and just like, it's not working. My bank account is going down. And like, it was very tough. I had to pay my rent with several bank cards, just kind of put it together. And that's the thing, with 11 years in business, entrepreneurship is all of that. You all go through that. So it's not like someone is sitting there like, well, you always had it easy. No. If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to go through the fire and you have to sit with it. So one thing was that I can do this. I'm strong enough. It was that resilience, but it was more than trust. I almost had the mantra and saying, I trust, trust, trust. I was sitting and repeating, I'm trusting that this is the journey. I'm trusting that I'm in the right place. I'm trusting I'm going to work out. Because in the end, if you think about it, if you're listening to this, most of us are safe. If something doesn't work out, what's the worst case scenario? You're going to live with your parents for 6 months and then you're going to figure it out again. It's fine. And actually, the moment I realized that, that's when my whole business changed. When I was trying so hard, I was not in my integrity anymore. I was starting to say yes to clients that I knew deep down that wasn't the right client. I was going to, as a partnership that wasn't really, I was feeling a bit off. And I didn't listen to those warning signals until one day I was putting into an ATM machine to take out money, and the ATM machine ate up my card. And that was like, okay, I don't have a card. I was in Belgium, in Brussels, and like, okay, what am I gonna do, And that moment I said, I'm still alive. I had this moment of like, deep fear. And then, wait a second, I'm alive. And from that moment, I just said, no more. And I said, I'm going to write a list of non-negotiables. What am I not going to sacrifice in my life for my business, for my mission? And I just wrote that list. It's on my phone. It's still there. I'm always updated every 6 months since that day. And then as I start to show up. Yeah.
Could you share some of the non-negotiables?
Yeah, absolutely. It was not taking on clients that don't make me feel good. It was not getting on coffee meetings. It was not going and speaking on different events that I didn't want to do. It was a lot about listening to my gut feeling and saying, I don't want to do that. And I'm not going to go there because maybe something will work out. And because of that confidence, courage that I first built inside of me, I just had this state. So when people were seeing me, and they were like, wow, I had this thing. And I said, well, I have some savings from a saving account I put together when I was very young. I never want to touch. But then I said, but wait a second, why can I not do that right now? Because for me, it felt like a failure, touching that after all this year of being an entrepreneur. But I said, I have some savings. It's enough for 2-3 months. All right. I'm going to just, from now on, I don't care. It's not worth being out of integrity for this. And from that moment, I kid you not, in 6 months, my company grew 600%. I had the biggest year in my business to that date because of me being so much in my integrity, my non-negotiable, and saying, this is who I am, this is how I work, this is what I stand for, and this is my non-negotiable, and I'm not going to sacrifice that. The problem that happens when we are coming into the market is that we think that we have to adapt so much to others, but you need to be in your leadership. And you say, this is me, this is my pricing, this is what I offer, and this is it. If you don't want it, that's fine. Even if I'm sitting with zero on my account, I will sit with that. And I will sit through the fear of getting a no, but I will not back down, and I'm not going to undercharge. I'm not going to feel like I have to adapt because my bank account doesn't allow me to go all in. So it's really first a question of understanding that you're not gonna die, most probably. You know, if you think about the situation, what's the worst thing that can happen? And then secondly is don't sacrifice your integrity. Don't sacrifice your non-negotiables, because that is what's going to make a difference between you and someone else who's starting off, who's like saying, I can do that, I can do it, I can do that. That's not attractive. That is you just saying like, I'm just gonna go everything, I want you to lead me. So that is my third part, which leads to get helpers. If you cannot afford having someone coming to you, I did every mindset, leadership, business seminar I could think of. And I was just absorbing information and inspiration. And I was just listening to podcasts just to be in the state of people who are in the courage. I was reading every book I could think of in that moment. And I was attracting mentors. I got mentors because I was looking like, who can help me? I cannot see myself out of this situation. I need the courage. So when you choose a mentor, if you're gonna go like, don't have the money because I'm new, well, do what you can. If that's reading the book or listen to the podcast or, so much free content, don't fool me that you don't have the money, you don't have the commitment. Let's be honest. If you can watch Netflix, I don't have the time, I need to get clients. No, you need to stop, and because your strategy is not working, and you need to actually get some advice. And a lot of people are very generous, and they can take 30 minutes to speak with you, or you can listen to lives on Facebook, or find a mentor that you can, and go as close to them as you can. If you cannot afford their one-on-one or their group coaching, well, at least listen to their podcast, consume anything that you can from that person, because there's going to be one seed, one small thing that will make this pop in your mind and saying, oh, this is what I have to do. Maybe you listen to this and say, I need to create a non-negotiable list. Maybe you're listening to this and you're realizing, wait, I'm not in my courage, I'm not in my integrity when I'm in business. I have to get this struggling entrepreneur out of my identity because it's not serving me. And the third thing I want to say is that, which is kind of related to that, courage and finding mentors, that when you choose your mentor, look at them and see, are they a struggling entrepreneur or are they a creator? Because if they are in the fear mindset, trying to feed you with lots of, here are solutions and tools, you can go far, but you will still have fear. You will still be in the struggling entrepreneur, even if you're having money in your bank account. So pick a mentor, a coach, a trainer who is inspiring you to become a creator, who is actually lifting you up to be in the state of, I know that's scary, I know it's uncomfortable, but you're gonna get through that. And that is someone who is just, always trying to, oh, you're afraid of that, let me give you this tool. You're afraid of that, let me give you this tool. And just kind of feeding the fear with tools and small solutions, because then you're gonna stay in that state even when you grow your business, and it's not a comfortable space to be. So I want you to already from very beginning, no matter what stage you are in, to start looking for who are the courageous people that I can listen to, follow, work with, who can bring out the courage in me, because that's gonna make a huge difference.
Daria, I think you're already bringing the courage in a lot of the listeners. Thank you so much for this. And I got to say, one thing that came to mind is when you were speaking about this scarcity and this tension mentality, one of my first speaking mentors is a wonderful lady called Janet Atwood, the creator of the Passion Test. An amazing tool, by the way, to define what are the things that make me most happy, most joyful. If I put my headspace aside, I just can concentrate on my heart and really feel what are the things that make me happy. The point that I wanted to share is there's this thing called the Passion Test formula, which consists of 3 parts: intention, attention, no tension. So the whole idea behind how do you build a passionate life, a fulfilling life, a successful life, is the first side is the clarity. What do I want to do? What are my passions? What are my goals? What is the life I want to design? What are the non-negotiables, right? Then comes the second part, attention. There's a lot of these dreamers with big vision that never do anything, right? and they watch the movie The Secret, and they kind of get this part that you have to just visualize and sit on your couch, which is amazing. But the reality is, you need to take some action. You need to put some energy into it. You need to try
Yeah.
things out. And the third part, which comes really difficult for many of you listening entrepreneurs, is no tension. And when you get into this abundant place, you kind of let go. As you said, you said it really well. You trust the process. And the moment you let
Yeah.
go, so you set all those strategies, you start executing, but it's not this neediness. Oh, I need to close this client, otherwise, then you kind of block it. You block it. When you let
Yes.
go, magic things start to happen. It's always been working for me, and I wonder if you also can relate to this.
Oh, I would love to go further on that. So you mentioned the action. You know, it's not about just sitting around and saying, "I'm gonna trust that the universe is gonna deliver." It's not like that. There is a moment of, if you don't know what action to make, if you are not sure about something, stop for a second and listen to your voice. And every action can and should become aligned action. What happens when you take aligned action is that you listen, you get the messages. Maybe you're journaling. A lot of people are journaling. We talk about productivity here. Journaling is very important. Having conversations with mentors, having talks, something comes up in your mind. You're like, this feels right. I want to do this. That moment when you say, I want to do this, do that. It doesn't gonna happen by itself. It doesn't mean that I'm not working. You know, when I do aligned actions, I can have 5 meetings, 8 meetings in a day, but I'm gonna do it from a state of presence, enjoyment, and maybe next day I'm gonna have less of that. But I'm just gonna listen to, am I doing this for the right reason? This is highly, highly important. And if you don't know, because that's what happens when you're in tunnel vision and you're just packing up your schedule thinking that the more hours I'm going to work, the more success I'm going to have, is if you don't hear your own voice, it's because you don't stop. You have to stop. And stopping can be the most productive thing you can do in the moment. So actually stepping back and say, I'm just going to sit down for a second because I'm not sure how to solve this. And if you don't have a mentor, just take your journal and ask yourself the question, write for 5, 10, 15 minutes. I promise you, you will have so much more clarity because you just actually sat with the question and you felt into it. Your gut feeling, your intuition is so strong, and we don't listen to it sometimes. And it's not just like you have this present, you're going to have the answer. It's just that you have a lot of knowledge in you, in your subconscious. There is a lot of experience that you have in you, but you don't hear yourself because you're running so fast. And many times you will know, like, I had the gut feeling, but I went for it anyway. Aligned action, go for it. Do the action. That's also being brave. That's also being a creator. You don't just create in your mind, you create in the world. And the third thing you were mentioning about that, in action, was it in action?
No tension.
No tension. Sorry. Yes. So the no tension concept is that if you're in the struggling entrepreneur identity, you want fast results because you're afraid. If I put the work in, what happens if I don't get the results back? And the creator knows that I'm putting the work in and I'm gonna get results, and it's going to work out as long as I'm trusting, as long as I'm creating, as long as I'm doing the right actions, and as long as I'm trying and giving my best, showing up for me and for others every day. I know that maybe it's going to happen in one day, maybe it's going to happen 6 months, but it doesn't really matter because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. A struggling entrepreneur is, I did this post. Why is it not working? Why I'm not having clients? Well, one for one, you cannot decide for others if they want to, if you're in that state, how are you showing up? It's not just because you're doing an action that it's going to work. How are you showing up? Are you someone that feels good to be around, or are you stressing your clients? Are you stressing your leads? Are you stressing the people around you? And they're like, oh, I don't want to be around that. That doesn't feel good. So it's also about the state. So that patience that has to do with, the most successful entrepreneurs, they have the trust and the patience to say, I'm trying this out. I believe in myself and it's going to work out, but I don't know exactly when. We cannot control that. We just know that we show up every day and it's just going to click.
And just to add on top of this, a different dimension, when I was starting my consulting coaching business, I did not have the money to afford but I didn't want it to be needy. I wanted to be in this more like abundant mentality. So what I did is I got a dishwashing job. So I would go and I wash dishes for a couple of days. But for me, it wasn't dishwashing. For me, it was dishwashing university, because I'll put on my headphones, I'll listen to podcasts, I'll listen to audiobooks. And this part-time job allowed me to have the freedom, this mental space that, hey, I'm covered. I don't need to worry about my
Yeah.
rent, my bills. I have the minimums covered. I can go and I can kill a customer. This is my price. And I love what you were talking about, the stick to your offer. Like, you don't go to
Yeah.
the dentist and say, the dentist says this costs you 300 euro, and you say, I can give you 100. You don't do that. You just say yes or no,
Yeah.
right? But because this is something more intangible, we have the tendency to lower prices and to say, okay, whatever, just this time, and portfolio, whatever, right? And I think it's some really good points you're bringing in here.
Yeah, but the pricing, I mean, this is something I see quite often. People come to us and they're like, yeah, I had this offer, no one was buying it, so I lowered my price. And I say, well, there's a misconception by that says that if I lower my price, then more people will sign up. It's not entirely true, and actually, many times it's not. If you are working with, and in our academy, people work with more like leaders, founders, experts. It's more high-level premium offers, right? So it's more the best clients you can work with. Your best clients don't want to sign up to your online course because they want to be able to be in your energy, in your space. So even if you offer a 97 course, well, they might just want to be with you. So there's this idea of this ladder we build up of, I have to start with a 27 offer, 97 offer, and I'm going to build up. And one day when I work for this for 25 years, I can finally, have a good business. The way we see in our academies, instead of going from low to high, we go from high to low. So we create the best offer that you can create for your clients. So you're thinking, what is the biggest 1-year program I can create for my clients? And if I'm going to put all this in, how much was that going to be? And then maybe we're going to double that price just because it's going to stretch you a bit. You want to be a bit uncomfortable. And that is going to be your best offer. And what we see often is that when someone is, this is something we do very, very often, people with us come in, they 3, 5, 8, 10x their fees. And they say, wait a second, well, if I can do this for one-on-one, why would I even go to 97 offers? I love the clients I'm working on. I'm having a better schedule. My clients are getting more results because I'm available, I'm present, I'm not running around. Why would I do something else? So absolute, the pricing has nothing to do with will this client sign up or not, because it depends on what clients are you working on. If you're working on your best clients, with your ideal clients, they will be able to, if they see the value, they will be able to invest. And secondly is realizing how much it has to do with self-worth. When you're having a new price, you're realizing, oh my God, will someone sign up? What if they realize that I'm a fraud? What if you get this idea of imposter syndrome? Can I charge this? But I'm an expert. Blah, blah. And then, yes, you are good enough. Yes, you have all these 100 testimonials. Yes, you have all this. Why are you undercharging? It's very common in the industry that people are undercharging. And it's, if there's one message, stop undercharging, but you are enough. Go straight to the best clients and work yourself down instead of going from down to up, because this is one of the biggest mistakes and the struggles I see in the industry when it comes to people going from online coursing up. Online courses, just to give you a small study, and then we can talk about something else, but has 3 to 5% completion rate. If you care about your clients, why would you give them an online course? Don't you want them to succeed? Just a question to think about.
I just wanted to leave a few seconds for the audience to think about. No, but I think this is such a good point. I actually haven't thought about this approach, kind of like starting from the biggest premium product, and then kind of, if you feel like you kind of build it backwards. But the question that came to mind is, for many coaches and consultants, especially at the beginning, it's hard for them to really come up with this first price offering. Is there any process or like advice for those who are wondering how much should I charge? Like, what would you advise those people?
So Sebastian, he's my co-founder, my partner is the expert at this when it comes to helping, with this first offer. What he usually say when people ask us who are in that stage of like, okay, it's not stable enough, is price your one-on-one coaching at the price of your monthly costs. So let's say that your monthly cost is 2,000. Then your one-on-one coaching should be 2,000, because then you know that if you sell one that month, it's going to be enough to cover everything. And then you can start finally to be creative and financially free. If you sell two, you're covered for 2 months. And you feel, and that allows you to, that's a good price range. And usually most people feel good about it because their cost is quite related to their expert business. The more you grow, probably if you have team costs and stuff like that, that's going to be higher. But that's quite a good number to actually have in mind for your one-on-one coaching. Doesn't mean it's for 1 month, but if you have like a 3 to 6 months coaching program or a consulting program, let's say it's 3,000. Your monthly cost is 3,000 is a good price. If it's 5,000 per month that you have to cover, then it's 5,000. It's going to be a good 6 months program, etc. When it comes to your group coaching, so we don't do online courses at all because, as I mentioned before, with the completion rate being so low. But the group experience, group coaching or consulting, we usually price it at 1/3 of the price. So when someone says, let's say if your group coaching is 1.5, then your one-on-one should be 5. If your group coaching is 2, or let's say even 3, because it's a long group coaching, or if if more experienced, then your one-on-one can be 10K. So it's about having that difference between your offers as well, because many times when someone is offering group and one-on-one, the price is not different enough. So most people will choose the one-on-one, and you're still stuck in this one-on-one loop where you're just giving time for money. So you are still not able to step out and think bigger. So yeah, if that helps.
Really, really practical. Thank you so much, Daria. Those of you who are listening, either live or in the podcast, let us know in the comments. Was that something helpful? Is that something that you're doing, or you have a different strategy to define your offering? Which leads me to something we were discussing before the call, and it was fascinating, but I didn't want to get all the details before we jump on the live. And it's how do you actually manage your time? You shared these 4-day weeks, and that you shared something about 6 hours a day. I'm not gonna reveal anything, but I just want to ask you, how do you manage to actually produce all the results that you want, and with this ambitious, abundant mindset, but actually put it into quite a small working week?
Sure. So one of the first things we do with our members when they come into our academy is that we strip it down to 4 days work weeks. And it doesn't mean that they don't work 5 days if they want. You can even work 7 days some weeks if they want. It's just that your business doesn't depend on you working 5 days per week. And with time, we strip it down to 2-3 days delivery, and then the rest maybe having a visionary day in the week and some time with, creation, stuff like that. But in overall, to give you some, numbers, in a week, if you're an expert thought leader, rising thought, if you want to step up into an understanding like what is my uniqueness, and build a sustainable, successful multi 6-figure business with that, you are not there to be the administrator and the lowest paid assistant of your own company. So it's very important from very early stage to create a schedule that allows you 30 times of the time of the week, but 1/3 of the time to spend working with clients, coaching, consulting, any type of delivery. If you don't have many clients, then start delivering, live streams, podcasts, anything that shows and shares your message. So 30% of your time, you should be delivering your message in the week. 30% of the time, you should enroll people. You're still going to be the one kind of selling and attracting people into your world because you are the one that people want to be around because of your message and your vitality and your state and your courage. So there's a whole thing about you being showing up, and either it's offering masterclasses or offering sales calls or anything like that. It's going to be about 30%, or maybe partnerships, networking, any type of building your business. That's going to be about 30% of your time, having those conversations, showing up for people who want to enroll into your world. So that's more the sales part of that. And the 30% of the time, you should be in think mode. That means that you create new ideas. Bill Gates has Think Week. And that means that you allow yourself to have, about 30% of the week thinking. What does that mean? It's about investing in your training, maybe being coached by someone else yourself, maybe having walks in the forest, listening to a podcast, writing new content, writing on your book, like spending 30% of your week developing and mastering what you're good at. So if you are, let's say, a productivity master, well, 30% of the time you will see, how can I serve my clients at a higher level? How can I develop my framework? How can I learn more about this? Is there something new I can develop? Maybe I can attend a training. Maybe I can be mentored. Maybe I can do some breath work and I can meditate. It doesn't really matter. It's just about you working on yourself. You're the best element, the best asset in your business. So you not working yourself is also about you not stepping up. So you kind of at the same level. So this is the fastest way to grow. Everything else should be taken care of by someone else or be outsourced or not done at all. And you will realize that that's the hard part. Many things we are doing out of fear. We come back to the struggling entrepreneur. What if I didn't do that? Why if I didn't overload my clients and over-delivered with information because they all feel overwhelmed? What if I didn't get in that sales calls knowing that person is not going to be a good fit? What if I didn't do this and that? You will realize that actually you have much more time in your schedule. So if you start to look at your schedule from that point of view of 30% of your time you're working on delivering your message, if you don't have enough clients and you're going on lives, you're doing any way that you can, create your own podcast, show up, create your message, give value. 30% of the time, enroll people into your world. That means partnerships, conversations, networking. There can be sales calls, any type of things like that. And then 30% of the time, think and work on yourself. Then your business is gonna thrive, and you will have so much fun, and you will have the right client. It just takes off when you do that.
I love it. Just as a clarification, where would the working on, let's say, creating content, and is that on the first part, like when you're kind of structuring a program, let's say? I guess on the sales perspective, it's in the second bucket, but working on content and new program, would that be the first bucket?
The third part. So the working on the program will be in the third part, and the delivering will be in the first.
Got it. Would you recommend that if people start getting too many clients, like one-on-one, let's say, and their week is like 80% on the delivery, would you recommend that they increase their prices, or they create a program that they do group coaching? Would that be something that you kind of recommend, at least in the long-term perspective?
Oh, absolutely. So I usually, say to our clients to take on 3 to 5 one-on-one clients, VIP, in 6 months or 12 months. And that is your best clients. Like, this is your top. You're almost showing up to the session saying, but you already know all this stuff. What else can I give you? They're so good, but they are very experienced, and it allows you to also step into your genius because you are stepping up in the sessions with them. And then you have the program under, which is program with the front end offer, which is the group coaching. So we will go into having a group coaching. That's going to be the main program you're going to deliver. So absolutely don't trade your one-on-one time, and don't give that away as a front-end offer. That's very common. People do. They give the one-on-one coaching as a front-end offer. So that's like the first thing that people can access. If I would work with someone and let's say, well, you can access me one-on-one, I will know for sure that, that's how I can access you. If you have so many people in your schedule, how will you be able to be present for me? How will you be able to work on yourself? And the more you grow in your business, if you have 3 to 5 VIP clients, then you can focus on the group coaching. And I mean, our program Momentum is my soul program. Like I live for that. I cried of happiness yesterday just seeing what's going on in the members area and what's going on, how they support each other and like their success and their work on themselves. It's my soul program. It doesn't mean that I don't work on it, because I think of them. I think of what's going on, what can I deliver to them, what can we improve, always improving, so it becomes even better. It's already good, they already love it, but I just want to take it to the next level every time. So I do think about it and I do reflect on it, but it takes away all this, having 5 offers and 10 offers. You can do this, but you can also do this day. Like, no, this is the group coaching. This is one-on-one offer. There's nothing else. If you want to go into this container, I love to take care of you. If you want to go, if you're ready for the VIP, amazing. And that takes away this, the online course, the PDF, the ebook, and all this time that you're spending not serving your clients. Unless you're a marketer and you love that, that's fine. But if you love people, why are you spending more time with machines with people? So get it back, get the criteria right and the proportions right, and say, how much time am I spending with people? And when you create a group coaching, you will be able to create an amazing container, working with people for 3 to 6 months, 12 months, and just be there for them. And you can just, instead of trying to find new clients, you just focus on them. Instead of delivering one-on-one the same message, you deliver it to a group, and then you can go deeper with them together. So it just completely changed your business.
And one of the key takeaways when it comes from a perspective of productivity, some people watching, obviously not in the thought leadership, they have, they work for a company, businesses, but I think the piece about delegation, if these are my priorities, if these are the percentages in which I decide to spend my time, how do I find people who love doing the administration, who love doing all the stuff that I don't have to do? Because when you do 1 hour with a client or with a group of clients, you do a workshop, you do a program, you create so much more value than when you do something administrative. And I think this is also a mindset shift to let go of the need to control and the need to, we can save on that kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you are doing tasks like, doing your own social media or post-production of podcast or logo design, all that, when there are people can do it much faster because they're actually expert on that. Be expert what you're doing. You spending time delivering your message, developing yourself and selling, and not only selling directly, but also creating the network and being out there speaking with people. It's so much more effective. And if you think of your time, let's say if you're coaching or consulting, or your even salary is, let's say it's 500 euros per hour. If someone can do a logo for 20 euros, why are you doing it yourself? You're basically downgraded your hour to 20 euros per hour just by doing that. So that's the question as well of course, you cannot just maybe have a full-time employee. I started with someone working for me 5 hours per week. And that for me changed everything because it took away so much of the time. I was getting so many podcasts at the moment and speaking and because we were both speakers. So all this, sending photos, sending bios, following up, it's very time consuming. And I looked at my schedule. We do a hiring journal. That's something like people can do. I just wrote a hiring journal of where am I losing time? And I saw the pattern of, I'm losing so much time when I want to do more speaking, but I don't manage to follow up. It takes so much time. Having that person just doing 5 hours for me, I could double the speaking engagements. How would that affect my business? Well, I have more conversation. I'm getting in front of more people. Of course, it's gonna impact our business long term. So just that type of actions, 5 hours can be worth it. If you just raise your prices to what's actually worth, and you hire someone for a couple of hours, and you start be more in your genius, it will have an impact. So yes, delegation is key. Even if you can take on someone for a couple of hours, start with what you can, and you grow and the micromanagement is important. That you said that don't micromanage your team after that. If you're like, but you have to do it this and this way because it's your baby, you're an expert, you create the business, you just want to it's my baby, I don't want to give it away. Well, no, don't do it that way. Empower your team. Like our team, I speak to them just to kind of catch up and have a lunch with them every 2 weeks. they're self-run. We don't give them tasks, we give them mission statement, we give them vision. This is the vision of the company, this is where we're going, this is what's going on. Now go out and I trust you to do what has to be done. That's how we run the company with the team. They completely self-run, and just from time to time, like, oh, maybe we should have a lunch, or maybe we should check in. And sometimes we do have meetings, creative meetings. I'm not micromanagement. I'm gonna tell them, please fail forward. Try out things, see what feels good. We'll figure it out. If it didn't work, that's fine. I'm not gonna blame you for something.
And one of the areas that's really important for me, I think it's also for you, is to sometimes actually invest in people. Like, I would rather spend more time, not always. There's some things that, of course you want to do it now and just get it done. But for the most part, maybe the person that you're willing to delegate will do it slower. That's fine. That's fine. Let them try it out. Coach them.
Yeah.
Give them feedback. For the worst part, you help somebody to learn something. But not just that, you're teaching people to take initiative, and they're going to be better and better and better. At some point, they'll do it better than you. So that's a really, really important point. And you mentioned a couple of times podcast, and I know you're leading your own podcast. What is your podcast about? Where could people find it? And why did you actually start doing this podcast with respect to, again, scaling your thought leadership, branding, marketing? What was actually the purpose behind starting this platform?
So the podcast, what I felt before with content is that I didn't have this routine. And we talk about productivity. It's the habits that you create in the week. It's almost like you have it ongoing. And my content was on and off. I had content coming out, and I had moments when I didn't create, and I just felt that it wasn't congruent with my brand. It wasn't consistent. So when I started my podcast, I felt that it gave me this northern star for my content. It just gave me this thing in the week that I show up with guest or solo episodes 1 or 2 times per week. And I'm having this amazing conversation, and I'm learning things, and I'm creating a network, and I'm enjoying this. I'm making friends, and I'm also reflecting on content that would make so much sense for, things that we teach in our academy. I usually try to do a small episode about that as well, so people who are not part of our academy or our community can also learn from that. So for me, it was the intention of creating some consistency. And when I started, I realized, wow, I can build a whole content around it. So just having that episode coming out 1 or 2 per week allow me now to have content on my social media platforms, on YouTube, on we do a repurposing strategy. YouTube, podcast, it goes out to our email list. We have an opt-in with some of the episodes. Like, there's a whole thing around it. And it's so simple and so streamlined. And yet I have content coming out everywhere, every week. And the thing is, my time that I spend on it is almost, it's one episode might take me 2 hours. From the moment that I'm on an episode and I do the show notes, I take some time to write the copy because I'd like to really reflect on that and give that to my team. Everything else that you see online, I don't do, because my work is not to sit and edit and put that on social media. My work is to show up, to do my best, to listen to and do a great episode with my guests and listen to them and ask the right questions so they can, we can unfuel their genius, create a solo episode where I can share a bit of my frameworks as well and help other people to learn from us. The rest is done by my team. And that allowed me to feel like, okay, I can focus on what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to just be more in my delivery, be more in my networking. And the channel of podcasting allows me to do all of that. That's why I love it so much. It's because it allows me to be in the stage of delivering my content or networking and, creating connections, and being more in my think mode because I'm reflecting, is this something that would make sense for my clients to listen to? I always think that. Would this make sense for my dream client? Will they listen to it? Will this give them extra added value? If yes, then I'm going to have a guest on. I'm going to talk about the topic. It's super simple. It becomes just this small thing I do in the week that I love doing and that fuels everything else online.
Absolutely agree with you. Absolutely the same mindset. As you probably have seen, my team is even in touch with you about the visuals, the bio, so the other things. And you, for me, this is the time of the week I can connect with somebody like yourself, somebody really inspiring with a different perspective. I have a brilliant conversation, but then also the audience, the people, my network is getting inspired. We can repurpose the content afterwards. um so a follow-up question I have, maybe the final question for this episode, is you mentioned a few different marketing tools, so to say. You mentioned mailing list, social media, podcast. Are there any specific formats that in the last 3 to 6 months you find are sort of like most effective when it comes to attracting new high quality clients?
Yeah, so I'd say that it's a difference between, if you're working with low to high, you go through that, marketing system of webinars and all this kind of stuff. And then you have the email sequences, landing pages, the Facebook ads. I usually say to our clients that up to 6 figures and don't do any of that. You just need a handful of clients who are very great and very much the type of people you want to work with to make it sustainable business. So instead of trying to do all the marketing, what you want to do is that where can I connect with people? So for me, the 2 platforms that have been the most effective and interesting, and I just feel like this makes so much sense, is the ones where I can actually have conversations. So that is the podcast and Clubhouse. And Clubhouse has been super fun. And I mean, I was a lot on it in the first month when it started to really take off, and then I kind of slowed down a bit, and I'm getting back in. And what I love about it is that it's a great way to also find great guests. So when I will go on the panel or invite people, I can have a conversation with them for 5-10 minutes. It gives value to the ones in the audience and the others who are on the stage. And then I can take the conversation further. And many of my guests come from my Clubhouse rooms. It allows me to create networks. It's almost like a conference. And I loved conference when we could go to conference, being in the place where you can meet people, and randomly, someone comes in and you're like, oh, who are you? And you just start having this conversation. It's brilliant. So it creates a great way to have an online conference, let's say, and networking space. So those are the 2 that I love the most and that I'm enjoying the most. But I think it's important to remember who you are as a person, because I love interacting and having conversations. I love to connect with people. So if you are more into something else, then maybe that's going to be more of your, the best way for you to communicate.
Daria, thank you so much for an incredible episode. Lots of great insights and inspiration. And before we wrap up the episode, where could people find you, listen to your podcast, learn more about your programs, and potentially get you on board to work together?
So the absolute easiest will be dariav.com. That's my site, and usually that's where you'll find the most up-to-date information. And Daria Vodopianova, if you write my name on LinkedIn and connect, let me know what you learned from this episode. That's a good place to say. And then I can guide you further into my world of podcasting and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, thank you so much, Tony. I have really enjoyed this conversation. It has been such a pleasure.
Thank you. Any final words you want to leave the audience with?
I'd say the most important is that you don't just get inspired by this episode, because if you get inspired and you sit on it and you say, well, that was inspiring, you go on with your day, well, nothing's really going to change. We talked about actually align action. If something fueled you in this episode, you just feel like, oh, gave me these ideas, sit down, have a coffee, have a tea, just sit with yourself like, oh, what did it bring out? And take at least one action. If that action is just, going for it, or maybe raising your prices, or maybe starting your podcast, or maybe reaching out to someone that you want to speak to, or maybe committing to writing a non-negotiable list, doing one action. If you don't do one action, then you're not going to do it later. So go for it right now and take that action, because that one action might change your whole life. That's my final word.
Thank you so much, Daria. From everybody who's been listening, thank you so much for your attention, your energy, your time. Listen to Daria, take this one thing and put it into action, and see you again at the next episode of Productivity Mastery.